Hey guys, quick question. What's the longest you've ever played a game in one sitting? Because after testing these 20 PS5 games, I'm pretty sure I set some personal records. I'm talking about games that grab you in those first precious minutes and just don't let go. You know, the ones where you sit down for a quick session and suddenly your coffee's cold, your phone's dead, and you've completely lost track of time. I've been there way too many times this month, and honestly, I regret nothing. These games are that good, so buckle up, because we're about to go through 20 titles that will absolutely destroy your free time, and you'll thank them for it. Claire Obscure Expedition 33 grabs you by the collar before you've even learned everyone's names. You step into this dreamlike Belle Epoque world where brass, velvet, and smoke collide, and the legend of a painter who erases whole years hangs over the streets like a curse. The first 10 minutes aren't shy. They're a statement. You're dropped into a fight that looks like it's spilled out of a museum. Brushstrokes become blades, ink flickers into sparks, and every command you choose splashes across the screen like you're painting your own fate. It's turn-based, sure, but it doesn't feel polite or slow. You're tapping parries on the beat, timing counters to little visual cues, stacking perfects for that elegant, crushing finish. And then the DualSense chimes in. Each brush thrum has a tiny tactile snap, and you feel that controlled tension in the triggers when you wind up a heavy, artful strike. Within minutes, the city starts to whisper about Expedition 33, the fools and heroes who will try to break the cycle, and you can almost taste the velvet panic of everyone pretending not to be terrified. That's the hook. Style and dread in equal measure. The menus look like gallery placards. The soundtrack waltzes and then fractures, and the characters carry themselves like they've been sketched with a confident hand and a shaky heart. You're not just learning systems, you're learning the rhythm of a world that erases you if you stand still. And by the time the first boss flexes a flourish that blots out the sky in color, you're already leaning forward, grinning, going, okay, show me what year 33 really means. Control. Ultimate Edition sinks its claws in the second those sliding doors whoosh open and you walk into the Federal Bureau of Control. It's a lobby, but it's wrong, in the best way. Fluorescent hums buzz like secrets. Posters yell about house rules, and Jessie's voice slips in, this intimate narration that makes you feel like you've walked straight into her head. Then you meet Ahti, the janitor who talks like a proverb and smiles like he knows the punchline to your whole life. Within minutes, Control's trick is obvious. It makes the mundane uncanny. Hallways shift. A door you just passed is not a door anymore. And then the moment. The gun chooses you. The service weapon. It's not a gun. It's a promise. It morphs in your hands. The DualSense gives each shape its own feel. There's a crispy snap to the standard shot. A heavier thunk when it transforms. The hiss arrives. Reality trembles. And now you're instantly juggling survival and curiosity. What is this building? Who is the board? And why does every filing cabinet feel like it's full of ghosts? The pacing is perfect. You learn to move with intention, peek behind corners, line up headshots, and then Control lets you rip open the world with launch, grabbing a desk with your mind and blasting it through a red-tinged enemy. That first perfect telekinetic hit feels illegal. And the art direction? Brutalist concrete cathedrals full of office chairs and blood-red coils of static. It's a conspiracy you can touch, and it's begging you to tug the thread. 10 minutes in, you're the director, ready or not. And the oldest house has decided you're staying for the tour. Death Stranding. 2 wastes, 0 time, reminding you that solitude can be louder than any explosion. You get that signature Kojima blend, a strange lullaby of images, a quiet heartbeat, and then footsteps. Weighty, careful, human. The world is not friendly. Wind gnaws at your jacket. The sky looks like it's holding its breath, and the ground has opinions about every step you take. The DualSense practically becomes your backpack. It tenses when your load shifts. It sighs when you plant a boot just right. And the rain, timefall, taps out this delicate, menacing rhythm across your palms. In the first few minutes, you don't fight the world, you negotiate with it. You're setting your route, adjusting straps, scoping out a slope that would be a joke if you weren't the one climbing it. And then there's the quiet sci-fi tenderness, a connection you're guarding, a mission that sounds simple but tastes like consequence. That's the hook. Every small action feels meaningful. When you balance, your whole body leans with the character. When you spot something on the horizon, your brain instantly flips into, how do I get there without destroying everything I'm carrying? And just as the landscape starts to make sense, the uncanny spills in, shadows in the rain, machinery with too much personality, a human voice that cuts through the winds like a flare. The mystery doesn't lecture, it just arrives. 10 minutes in, you realize the game isn't trying to impress you with noise. It's seducing you with silence, with intent, with the idea that every inch of ground is a story, and you're the one who has to carry it. Monster Hunter Wilds doesn't tiptoe, it howls. You crest a ridge and the world just opens up like a jaw. Sand dunes ripple, rocky arches chew at the sky, and way out there, something huge moves and the ground remembers. Your Palico chirps, checks your gear, and you can feel the DualSense give a tiny, eager heartbeat when you draw your weapon. The hook is the ecosystem. It's alive and it absolutely does not care about you. You mount up and there's no loading screen to save you. You're riding straight at a roar that makes the controller vibrate low in your palms. The first 10 minutes are this rolling improv set. A storm starts brewing. Little creatures scatter, a larger shadow cuts across the sun, and suddenly your plan to gather a few herbs turns into a dance with a hungry apex. And the combat. Look. Monster Hunter never holds your hand. Your weapon is a commitment. Every swing is a conversation with timing and greed. Do you go for that greedy charged hit? Do you back off and sharpen? Do you roll and drink? Your reading tells. Watching tails twitch, learning footsteps like a language. Wind kicks up, sand lashes your visor, and the big guy vanishes into a dust cloud until the cloud moves and you realize it's not a dust cloud, it's him. Then the magic happens. You land that first clean combo, your Palico tosses a lifesaver gadget, the beast staggers, and the world holds its breath. 10 minutes in, you're not just in a hunting game. You're in a living, breathing documentary where you get to write the voiceover, if you survive long enough to speak. The Last of Us Part 2 opens with quiet that feels sacred. A guitar, fingers on strings, a voice trying to make sense of the past. Snow drifts. Horses puff steam in the cold. The hook is not explosions. It's intimacy. Within minutes, you're sliding into the routines of Jackson. Small talk. Side glances. The kind of banter that tells a whole history in one bad joke. And then the game nudges you out into the world, where the sound design does the heavy lifting. On PS5, the 3D audio makes a broken window sing, makes footsteps in snow feel like secrets. The DualSense has this subtle push when you draw the bow. A little tremor when you steady your breath. You squeeze through a crack in a wall. Glass crunches under boots. And suddenly, you're crouched behind a counter watching a clicker drift past with that horrible rhythmic rasp. That's the moment. Your heart learns the pace of this world. It's slow, it's deliberate, and it's unforgiving. You throw a bottle. It shatters. Everything wakes up. The first stealth encounter teaches you the grammar. Line of sight, sound, spacing. You craft in a panic. You heal behind a shelf. You mess up. You improvise. And the storytelling never lets go. Idle conversations spill truth, drawings and notes lie in corners like ghosts, and a single look between characters can change the temperature of a room. 10 minutes in, you're not just playing Ellie, you're carrying her weight, her stubborn kindness, her anger, her fear. And when the music returns, even for a bar, it's like the game pressing a hand to your shoulder and whispering, "Keep going." Deathloop doesn't ask. You wake up on a beach with a hangover and a machete, and the world starts talking to you. Literally, words scrawl across rocks like the island itself is your unreliable friend, nudging you, teasing you. Break the loop. You pick up a gun, and the first trigger pull snaps with this crisp tension, and suddenly you're skulking through a seaside outpost, learning that stealth feels delicious until it doesn't. Colt mutters to himself like the world's funniest action poet. Juliana crackles over the radio, and it's all shade and mystery and very sharp knives. The island of Black Reef has swagger, posters, parties, bad decisions fossilized into architecture, and then the hook arrives. You mess up, you will, and time politely tosses you back with a wink. Reprise. Try again. This isn't a checkpoint. It's a second chance that dares you to be smarter, bolder. You start experimenting. Toss a bottle to split guards, blink across a gap with a power that feels like cheating, chain headshots, and feel the rhythm kick in. Within minutes, it stops being a shooter and becomes a heist puzzle strapped to a time bomb. Information is loot. Routes are weapons. You notice a door that was locked before is open now because of something you did 5 minutes ago, or in another loop. And all the while, Juliana might invade and your safe little plan turns into a duel with someone who talks the best trash in the business. 10 minutes in, you're not just surviving. You're composing the perfect day. One bullet, one mistake, one brilliant discovery at a time. Indiana Jones and the Great Circle hooks you with that old-school adventure energy the second your boots hit stone, dust motes, a flashlight beam, a whisper of a theme you can feel in your bones. Yeah, you're him, and the hat stays on. It's first person, so the whip isn't just a prop, it's an extra limb. You feel the snap in the air, the tug as it catches a beam, the momentum as you swing across a gap you definitely eyeballed wrong the first time. The opening minutes are all about curiosity under pressure. There's a riddle scratched into an idol's base, a mechanism that hums when you get close, and a lock that clearly wants to be charmed rather than brute forced. Indy mutters to himself, half complaint, half thesis, and you can't help but grin. When trouble shows up, and it always does, You're scrapping in close quarters, shoving a crate, ducking a punch, using the environment like a toolbox. Nothing feels floaty. It's tactile and a little messy in that Pulp Fiction way. Then the game lets you breathe just long enough to notice a symbol recur on a map, a coin, a mural, and the Great Circle stops being a title and starts feeling like a conspiracy with gravity. 10 minutes in, you've solved something small, escaped something loud, and pocketed something you probably shouldn't have. That's the hook. Puzzles that click, scrapes that leave a smile, and a mystery that leans over your shoulder and says, "Go on, touch that. What's the worst that could happen?" Res Infinite doesn't warm you up. It turns you into music and throws you into a neon dream. The first lock-on chirps you release, and 8 notes fire in a perfect arpeggio that somehow feels like you just exhaled the level. Movement is simple: tilt, glide, trace, but your brain starts syncing to the beat like it's been waiting for this. Enemies bloom into geometric flowers, data gates peel open on the downbeat, and every successful volley snaps with a satisfying little thrum that dances up through your palms. You're not just shooting targets, you're conducting a rhythm, carving shapes through sound. The visuals are minimalist and maximalist at the same time. Wireframes, vector storms, pulsing grids that feel like they can hear you. That's the trick. Res makes you believe the game is responding to your intent, not just your inputs. A dodge becomes a slide across a synth pad. A perfect chain becomes a chorus. Then, as the layers stack, your avatar evolves. Sleeker, sharper, and the music swells like a reward you can feel. If you flip into Area X, it's like stepping off the track into pure flight. Freeform and glowing, a toy box of light that still somehow sings in time. 10 minutes in, you've forgotten what buttons you're pressing. You're chasing a feeling, riding a groove, smiling at nothing in particular because the game crawled under your skin and rewired your sense of cool. Crash Bandicoot 4. It's About Time grabs your attention the instant a crate explodes into juicy Wumpa confetti. The movement is buttery. Tight jumps, that sassy little slide, a spin that still feels like popping bubble wrap, and the camera politely shows you just enough to make you confident, then tosses a curveball. You land on a moving platform, eyeball a line of crates, and the level designers wink, bet you try to grab them all in one go. You do. You miss one. You laugh, restart, nail it, and it feels fantastic. The early minutes teach the language fast. Shadows for landing, telltale markings for hidden boxes, and those delicious bonus rooms where perfectionists go to either thrive or perish. Then, the quantum masks show up, and the game flips from classic to devilish. Phase-shifting platforms in and out mid-jump turns your thumbs into little drummers, and the slow-mo mask makes precision feel like poetry. On PS5, every smash, bounce, and spin has a tactile snap, and the visuals pop like a Saturday morning cartoon that discovered particle physics. The writing is playful without getting in your way. Villains chewing scenery, Crash's eyebrows doing more acting than most Oscar nominees. 10 minutes in, you've already died hilariously, learned something, and come back fiercer. That's the hook. It's fair, it's mischievous, and it wants you to strut through a gauntlet that looks impossible until you nail the rhythm and make it look easy. Prince of Persia. The Lost Crown opens like a flex, acrobatic, stylish, and sharper than a scimitar's smile. You're Sargon, all swagger and footwork, and the first thing the game teaches you is that momentum is your best friend. Wall run, vault, air dash, slide into a parry that hits like a cymbal crash. The combat is a dance, and you lead by being brave. The first 10 minutes give you a clean arena to learn timing, and a bite-sized maze to test your curiosity. You'll spot a ledge you can't reach yet, a door with a strange sigil, a suspicious wall that practically begs to be revisited later. That Metroidvania itch starts immediately. The thrill is in the snap of a perfect deflect. Sparks fly, the enemy staggers, and you carve in with a combo that feels rehearsed even if it's your first try. Then the platforming flows. Sawtoothed traps, bounce pads, and little micro-puzzles that ask for one more dash, one more wall cling, one more breath. The art style is bold without being busy. Silhouettes you can read at a glance. Color that guides your eyes. Music that surges when you hit your stride. And when time powers enter the chat, setting a shadow to teleport back to, threading a needle through moving hazards. Your brain lights up with possibilities. 10 minutes in, you've mapped a mental route, pinned a spot to return to when you're stronger, and felt that dopamine burst of executing a sequence clean. It hooks you by making movement the reward, mastery the goal, and every new trick a key to another beautiful problem. Tony Hawk's Pro Skater 3+4 Remake wastes zero time, reminding you what flow feels like. You drop in, knees bend, and your thumbs start doing math you didn't know you remembered. Ollie, kickflip, grind, manual, revert, back to grind. combo still alive. The soundtrack slams, the wheels hum, and that first clean line feels like your brain just found a secret passage to 2002. But it's PS5 slick now. Grinds have texture. You can feel the rail as a little buzz under your fingers. The rumble changes when you lock in a nose grind versus a board slide. The first 10 minutes are a highlight reel. Spotting SKATE letters tucked into risky paths, threading a transfer through a half pipe, and hitting a spine transfer like you meant it the whole time. Then you hit a goal and the game whispers, "Bet you can do it cleaner," and you're off. Scouting lines. Old school timers from 3 keep your pulse up, while 4's free roam goals let you follow your curiosity. You'll talk yourself into one more try to snag a hidden tape, then another because a gap name flashed on screen and your pride made the decision for you. Specials erupt when that meter pops. Flaming wheels, ridiculous spins, and you'll grin when you stick the landing with pixels to spare. 10 minutes in, the muscle memory and the modern polish fuse. You're not just skating maps you loved, you're carving new rhythms through them. The hook is eternal. Style, speed, swagger, and the game makes you feel like a genius every time a combo doesn't die. Hollow Knight. Silksong doesn't tap you on the shoulder. It pirouettes past you and dares you to keep up. Hornet's first steps are a thesis. Quicker, sharper. A needle that sings through the air with a snap you can feel in your palms. The opening area hums with that Team Cherry magic. Gorgeous and hostile. A place that hides kindness in corners if you're brave enough to look. You wall jump, dash, vault off an enemy's head, and land on a ledge that probably wasn't meant for you yet. Perfect. The silk gauge teases you. Spend it to bind your wounds mid-fight, or weave it into a burst of movement that turns a mistake into a victory. Enemies chirp and screech with personality. Tiny knights that lunge with too much confidence. Skittering things that teach you spacing, and every clash is a little lesson. The sound design is precise. The needle's parry ping, the brittle crack of a mask, the chime when a secret path reveals itself. A bell tolls somewhere off-screen, and you suddenly feel very small and very curious. Then a mini-boss drops in. No preamble, just a challenge, and the dance begins. You learn the pattern. You overcommit. You get clipped, you bind on a safe beat, and when you land that final riposte, it's a rush that makes you bite your lip. Benches become sanctuaries, your map fills in like a diary, and NPCs talk in riddles that somehow feel like promises. 10 minutes in, you've already told yourself one lie. Just one more room, and the game knows it has you. The hook is grace under pressure, movement as mastery, curiosity as oxygen. Hell Is Us opens like a rumor you weren't supposed to hear. No glowing breadcrumb trail, no minimap nagging, just a country tearing itself apart, and something older gnawing at the edges of reality. The first 10 minutes are about listening to the land. You clock the wind direction by the way ash swirls around a toppled statue. You follow a torn banner, not a waypoint, and then you meet them. Things that don't reflect in your drone's sensors. Wrong angles, wearing almost human silhouettes. Your modern weapons spit noise and do nothing. So you pull the blade, a relic that hums like a tuning fork struck in your bones. And the DualSense tightens as it recognizes a nearby presence. Combat is intimate, unscripted, a little ugly in a good way. It wants patience. You watch a tell, step in, cut, disengage. When you nail a perfect deflect, the world goes razor sharp for a heartbeat, and you feel like you've earned the right to breathe again. The game trusts you to navigate by memory and landmarks. A mural of a crowned bird means the river bends east. A burned-out bus marks a fork that leads to a collapsed bridge you can climb under. You'll find a diary page wedged in a fence, a child's toy on a rooftop, and suddenly the human story feels louder than the monsters. 10 minutes in, you've chosen your own route. Survived because you observed and realized the map you're drawing is in your head, and that's the point. The hook is defiance. No hand-holding, just you, a blade that sings, and a place that dares you to understand it. Chronos. The new dawn starts with a sunrise that feels like a threat. 2 suns, actually. One dragging heat across jagged black rock, the other peeking over a horizon where a colony ship lies cracked like an egg. You wake to a suit AI that speaks in half-truths and a to-do list that's really just don't die. The first 10 minutes are a love letter to sci-fi curiosity. You sweep a scanner over strange coral metal growths that twitch when you get close. You hear a low thrum in the controller as a time anomaly ripples the air, and a boulder ages to dust in front of you. Okay. Time is not behaving. You improvise. Yank a power cell from a drone, hotwire a door, Craft a makeshift blade that hums when the anomaly passes. Then the hook hits. Pockets of accelerated time you can manipulate. You freeze a collapsing walkway long enough to cross, reverse a sapling into a seed to slip through a grate, age a predator's carapace, so your strikes matter. Every small success feels like cheating physics with style. The world-building whispers, graffiti in a language your visor slowly decodes, a child's drawing of a second city underground, coordinates etched inside a helmet that invite you deeper without a single exposition dump. When the first real threat appears, sleek, fast, wrong, you learn to read it, to bait it through a time field, to finish it with a combo that feels earned. 10 minutes in, you're already daydreaming routes. What if I freeze that waterfall to climb it? What if I age this gate to rust? The hook is elegant systems meeting raw survival. Science as a weapon, time as your playground. Borderlands 4 kicks the door in with a monologue, a mushroom cloud of color, and a gun that introduces itself by doing the splits and firing confetti. Welcome back. The first 10 minutes are pure mayhem school. Marcus tells you a bedtime story with too many explosions, and you're dumped into a new planet that looks like someone crossbred a casino with a war zone. You grab a starter gun and it already has a personality. Maybe it barks when it reloads. Maybe it sprouts legs and chases the last enemy down while you cackle. Abilities pop early because Borderlands understands the fun part. Slam a skill, watch the room change, chain it with a grenade mod that does something illegal to gravity. The DualSense gives each trigger pull a little signature. Punchy pistols, syrupy lasers, chunky shotguns, and that tactile feedback makes loot feel even loopier. Quips fly fast. Claptrap tries to be your life coach. The villain radios in with a taunt that's 30% threat and 70% brand building, and your new crew already feels like a dysfunctional family you're stuck road tripping with. A mini-boss thunders in, all caps, 3 health bars, and way too much swagger. You duck, slide, swap to a corrosive SMG because the armor is laughing at you, and then your action skill detonates in a way that makes you say, "Oh," out loud. Loot fountains. Numbers population. A purple drops in the first 10 minutes because Destiny loves you today. And in the corner, challenges ping to tempt you off the main path. Crew missions, ridiculous collectibles, a jump that screams, "There's a chest up here if you're gutsy." 10 minutes in, you're already theory crafting builds and texting friends. Drop in. It's stupid in the best way. The hook is the same beautiful promise. Guns, jokes, chaos, and the feeling that you haven't seen the wildest thing yet. Dying Light. The beast doesn't ease you in. It shoves you onto a sun-baked rooftop and tells you to move. The city is all jagged teeth and rusted bones, and the first thing you learn is that touching the ground is an invitation to chaos. Sprint, mantle, tic-tac off a wall, slide under a pipe, chain it into a vault. Suddenly you're not just running, you're composing a route. The DualSense hums when your stamina dips. The triggers add a little resistance on a last-ditch grab, and you feel that tiny click when a perfect landing rolls into a dropkick that sends a biter cartwheeling. You scavenge a shop that's more glass than wall, craft something stupid and sharp out of pipe and tape, then hear it. That wrong howl that turns the air thin. UV paint marks a safe house 2 roofs over, but there's a gap you swore you couldn't clear a minute ago. Now you're timing the jump, popping the paraglider for a heartbeat, hitting a ledge with your fingers like hooks. Night starts nibbling at the edges and the whole city changes its posture. You can feel the hunt switch on. A volatile peeks from a shaded alley and suddenly you're playing jazz, throwing a firecracker, yanking a ladder, slamming a door, thinking 3 moves ahead because panic will feed you to the street. 10 minutes in, you've learned the golden rule. Movement is mercy. The beast isn't a single monster. It's the city at night, alive, hungry, and faster than you think. And the moment you nail a perfect chase, the UV flare flares, your lungs are on fire, you dive through a window. Yeah, that's the hook. You live here now. On the roof, keep running. Silent Hill F starts as a whisper that doesn't belong to you. Mist curls around a country road, paper talismans flutter from a shrine gate, and something like music, too slow, too close, threads through the trees. The camera lingers on details that shouldn't matter. A cracked porcelain mask, a blossom pressed flat inside a schoolbook, red dust where there should be dirt. You step forward and the world acts like it noticed. Floorboards bend a fraction too long under your feet. A shoji door slides with a sigh that feels personal, and the DualSense gives the tiniest grain when your hand brushes a wall blooming with not flowers. The first 10 minutes are all suggestion. Notes half burned in a brazier hint at a grief you can't name. A string of characters you don't recognize keeps reappearing, stitched into fabric, carved into a desk, inked into skin in a photograph. You crouch to examine a lone shoe in the road and hear a thread pull. Literally, a filament unspooling behind you. You don't turn fast. Silent Hill wants your dread to steep. Then the world proves it's listening. A voice you know, but don't, calls your name from the wrong direction. Your lantern stutters, and that red-petaled growth twitches like it's deciding if you're soil. You back into a classroom that wasn't there a second ago. The desk names are familiar. How? A distant siren, or maybe just wind in a cracked flute, blurs time. You pocket a charm you probably shouldn't, and the building breathes in. 10 minutes in, you're not asking, what is happening anymore? You're asking, what did I do? Silent Hill doesn't jump scare you into staying. It lures you with shame, memory, and beauty that wants to wear you. Sonic Racing Crossworlds hooks you the second the countdown pings, and that blue blur becomes your whole field of vision. It's not just fast, it's playful fast. You hit your first drift, and the track sings. Sparks, rings chiming, a boost meter that begs to be filled. Then a portal blossoms at a hairpin, and suddenly Green Hill's grass snaps into a chemical plant's glossy blues. Then a lava glow licks the edges as you slingshot onto a new surface like you planned it. Drift, boost, jump, trick, again. You stack the rhythm like a DJ. Hold the drift, feather the trigger to milk the boost, snap the stick to swap lines and steal a set of rings from under someone's nose. Wisps crash the party like candy-colored chaos, laser to slice a shortcut, rocket to correct a botched landing, drill to turn a rough patch into your private tunnel. The DualSense gives each wisp a personality, a little kick or buzz that makes even a block feel cheeky. If you're running team mode, that slingshot mechanic is the secret sauce. Hanging wide to paint a boost line for a friend, trading items instead of hoarding, timing a team ultimate that turns the world into streaks while you laugh out loud because everything just got loud and perfect. Track design is the star. Multiple routes, risky air dashes, background cameos from every corner of Sonic's history. 10 minutes in, you've already found your line through a course and sworn revenge on whoever pelted you with a cube at the finish. The hook is simple, speed you can style with. One more race? Obviously. Final Fantasy Tactics grabs you not with fireworks, but with a decision you'll think about all day. The first skirmish looks small. Cobbles slick with rain, a church bell, a handful of enemies who don't know your name yet. Then the grid appears and everything matters. Height, facing, turn order. You move a squire 2 tiles too far and suddenly your chemist can't reach them with a potion. You tuck your black mage behind a gravestone and start chanting fire, knowing that if anyone sneezes on him before the CT bar empties, the spell dies. The DualSense clicks subtly when a backstab lines up, and you feel that little thrill when 100% pops over a helpless brigand's head. Jobs are the candy store and the philosophy class. You unlock a knight skill to break equipment and laugh when an enemy's sword shatters. You put a white mage on your front line and vow to make pacifism violent. Brave and faith turn into your private math. Do you pump damage at the cost of fearlessness, or lean into glass cannon miracles and pray to the RNG gods? Friendly fire teaches you respect fast. So does the downed timer ticking on a fallen ally, while you weigh a risky rescue against losing the high ground. Between turns, scraps of story cut deep, a name dropped like a dagger, a banner unfurled over a city that's more chessboard than home. 10 minutes in, you've learned no move is small, a job board is a personality test, and a well-placed stone toss can win a battle. The hook isn't just tactics, it's consequence. Every square is a promise or a trap. Choose. Dragon's Dogma 2 doesn't wait for a title card to show you what kind of fantasy you've walked into. You're the arisen, heart stolen, destiny stapled to your back, and the world wastes no time throwing teeth at you. Steel in hand, you pick a vocation. Fighter's shield sings when you nail a perfect block. Thief's daggers flash like punctuation. Archer's bow thrums with a pull you feel in the triggers. Mage murmurs, and the air ignites. And then the pawns start talking. Your main pawn is yours, a mirror with opinions, and the others you hire feel like travelers with stories mid-sentence. They point out a goblin ambush before you see it, shout weak points, hoist you up when your stamina bar makes bad decisions. The first 10 minutes are a thesis on chaos you can sculpt. A harpy swoops low and you stab into its shadow mid-air. A cyclops lumbers from the trees and you're already scheming. Bait it into a ravine, set oil, toss a spark, climb its back, and carve at that eye while your pawns chant and pin its legs. The DualSense grinds when you're hanging on, every stomp rumbling up your arms. Daylight feels generous, night feels like a dare. You light a lantern, and the forest shrinks to your breathing. A wolf pack circles. Your pawns argue about whether to camp or press on, and you realize You care what these strange, borrowed souls think. Loot isn't just numbers, it's options. New skills, new routes, a cloak that keeps the wind honest. 10 minutes in, you've been interrupted twice by something you didn't plan for and loved both times. That's the hook. A world that behaves like a wild animal, systems that invite improvisation, and companions who make every victory feel like a campfire story you can't wait to tell again.